Here at the Zombie Walk here in Toronto, when the undead have a chance to walk amongst us, sitting here with a Canadian comedian by the name of Matt Rossey. Matt, thank you so much for taking the time to share a few thoughts with us.
No problem, Reg. Thanks for finally getting to meet in person.
And the first question I have to ask you, as we were talking in the past and even we're talking today, you were sharing about your comedian acts, what kind of act you have and that. First thing I want to get into is, can we talk about how you got involved in comedy to begin with?
Yeah. Kind of came as a natural thing. Growing up, my way of diffusing people from doing things that scared me would be to make them laugh, like bullies. I know bullies is kind of a cliche thing to talk about now, but I was small when I was a kid. I'm still small now. And I used to just make the kids laugh rather than get beaten up. And that just kind of transferred over, through life over time. And coming up on 8 years ago, I took a dive one night to do stand-up and haven't turned back since.
And that was over in Vancouver when you actually started doing comedy.
Yeah, it was in Vancouver. I was working in a restaurant, and the owner of the restaurant wanted to, kept telling me, you should try comedy, He had been doing it for a couple of years on and off, and decided one day, I'll give it a try. I'll call the school that was doing the comedy course, and called. 2 days later, the comedy course started, and three months in class, once a week, learning how to write comedy, and did the graduation. The graduation was the actual first show. Did that, and I was bitten by the bug.
And you were talking also to us, there are some clubs down in the United States you've had a chance to get into. They're in New York. What kind of clubs are these, and what kind of audience feedback are you getting?
There's different places in the States. I've done shows in California, in Oregon, Wyoming, New York. In August, I did some shows in New York. Some of them were comedy clubs. Ones that I locked into in New York were some premier places that I still can't figure out how I got in. I know I had some help, but I was surprised that I actually was able to even get on the stage and do the shows, even though the shows were at 4. The one show that was my favorite was at like 4 in the morning. But in New York, in comedy clubs, that's the way that it works. You're the guy, you're the amateur guy, the guy that nobody knows who you are. You take the back seat. Right? It was definitely an incredible experience. One that I definitely look forward to again. I've got a friend that's a comedian in Australia that in March, it looks like I'm going to possibly be going there and doing a tour in Australia. So, we'll see.
What about the comedy scene here in Toronto? What kind of things could you tell us about that?
It's a lot more open. In Vancouver, people seem to want it, the audience seem to want a specific kind of comedy, which personally I call it dumbed down or stupid comedy, kind of like fart jokes or shit jokes. And that's not the kind of stuff that I like to do. Stuff that I really like to do is more of observational, for myself, self-deprecating. If I can't laugh at myself, then who else is going to be able to laugh at me, kind of thing. Whereas in Toronto, the audience is more forgiving and they're more open-minded, where you can actually talk about problems and issues that you see in society, things that you observe. They're more accepting of that here. Maybe it's because there's more of a cross-section of different people, different ages, different cultures. It's more open.
What's the biggest message that you want to get out there through your comedy and other artistic, we'll say, gifts?
Enjoy life. The world is too serious. People are taking everything too serious nowadays, and getting all caught up in having material things and not really appreciating what life can be. I spent my whole life in the arts. a great part of that was as an artist, and I chose that route because to me that seems to be the best way to affect the world the way that I want to, which is making it a better and a happier place, not just for myself but for everybody.
In closing, I just want to say to people that no matter what dream you have in life, what obstacles, physical or mental obstacles you may have, you think you have, just be willing to work within your health restriction. Think of the positive difference. Don't let anyone label you. Don't let anyone stop you from reaching for your dream, because it all comes down to one point. Only one that can make a difference in your own life is yourself. And that's what I want to basically say. You know, Matt, you want to share some final words?
Yeah, with what you just said there, I totally agree. Different things that I deal with. I found out a few years ago that I have lupus, so that's a daily thing that I have to deal with. Sometimes it is disabling to me. Thankfully, I can control it enough that it's not on a broader range. I can control it so I don't end up using a cane to get around or whatever. You know, like everybody, I don't think I'm anything special, but I've dealt with depression all my life because of things that have happened in my life that have gotten me down. Trick is, don't give up. Just keep on plugging at it and try and find a way to deal with the things in a positive way and move on from it, and not stay and harp on shit that happens, because in the end we all have a very short time here and we got to make the best of it. So,
one question I want to ask you, final question. Do you have a website or even a Facebook address that people can access, just in case someone listening to this wants to talk to you and ask you some questions that, you know, they're going through similar things that you were describing during the interview?
Yeah, I do have Facebook. I don't have a website yet. Websites cost money, and yeah, I'm a Canadian performer, so that kind of goes without saying. Facebook is Matt Rossey, Mattrossey. Look at me on Facebook. Talk to me whenever you want. I'm an open book. So,
thank you very much for your time there, Matt.
No problem. Thanks.